The last of the Hyundai EV family trio is here. The Genesis GV60 joins the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6 in offering a more luxurious compact EV option compared to the other two. So does it accomplish this? And is it different enough from the other two cars that it warrants the higher price tag that you'd be paying for this one? Let's go for a drive and find out. Unlike this car's sisters, the Ioniq 5 and the EV6, here in North America it's only available as a dual motor powertrain, so all-wheel drive. The base advanced trim produces a total output of 314 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque, which for most people it's actually more than enough. But this one is the performance, and it has a total output of 429 horsepower and the same torque, 446 pound-feet. But what if you live your life a quarter mile at a time? What if for those 10 seconds or less you feel free? Well, Genesis thought of you, because on the steering wheel is a little green button with boost written on it, and when you press that you get, surprise surprise, an extra 10 seconds of more power. The total output is bumped up to 483 horsepower and over 500 pound-feet of torque. And that does make a difference. You definitely notice it. With boost mode activated, there is so much torque and power that there's even a little chirp that you hear from the front wheels as they struggle to put this much power down to the ground. You get pushed really hard into the back of the seat, and even on the digital driver display in front of me, there's a little graphic that pops up to make it feel like as though you're in a Fast and Furious movie. However, when you arrive at a corner, that's when it starts to feel more like the Fast and the Furious rather than Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. This Genesis GV60 is by far the heaviest out of all three of its siblings, and you really notice the weight as you drive through corners. Although this performance trim of the GV60 comes equipped with adaptive dampers, even if you put them into their sportiest setting, it's still a lot of mass to try and control around corners. On top of all that, these tires are not the grippiest. Granted, they are winter tires, not summer tires, but if you have a heavy foot and you mash the accelerator pedal out of a corner, then the front tires are just going to end up spinning and generate a lot of smoke and not much actual motion. So by no means is this a sporty driving SUV when you're on mountain roads like how I am right now. Its primary focus is luxury and comfort, and it does that very well. But if you do want a more enthusiastic driving EV, then the Kia EV6 is still the one to be looking at. Both the advanced and the performance trims have the same battery at 77.4 kilowatt hours. However, the driving range is just a little bit less than in the advanced trim. 378 kilometers for the performance and 399 kilometers for the advanced. Charging the GV60 can take as little as 7 hours from the fastest level 2 charger, or just 18 minutes from 10% to 80% with a 350 kilowatt level 3 DC charger. Of course, this is under the most ideal conditions. From a more common 50 kilowatt DC fast charger, it'll take just over an hour to charge from 10% to 80%. A very small fraction of the battery recharging is done through regenerative braking, and there are quite a few modes to choose from. There is iPedal, which is what Genesis calls the one-pedal drive mode, and this mode is very smooth to bring the car to a complete stop. There's levels 0 to 3, with 0 having no regen braking, and level 3 providing a strong regen braking force, but you still have to apply the physical brakes to come to a complete stop. And finally, there's auto regen braking, where the car uses various sensors to determine how much regen braking force is required given the current situation. I personally don't like this mode because it always changes, so I just drove the car with the I pedal active. As I mentioned earlier, the Genesis GV60 Performance comes with adaptive dampers, and even if you set them in sport mode, they are really comfortable on city streets. Obviously in comfort mode, then they're much better. The car doesn't feel overly floaty, and it just drives over bumps really well. Further aiding to the comfort are the seats, which not only offer excellent padding, but also have a lot of adjustments, and they have a relaxation mode. This uses the air bladders that are built into the seats to reduce pressure points and promote blood circulation on longer journeys. It's not quite a body massage, but it's a decent feature after a long day at work. Speaking of the seats, they are commodious and there's a lot of space for tall adults in the front. Front legroom is actually similar to that of the Kia EV6. In the back seats, the GV60 has the least amount of legroom among its siblings. That being said, my knees didn't feel squished behind my 6'4" driving position. Headroom is also on the tight side, with my hair gently brushing up against the headliner. The seats can recline for a little bit of extra comfort, but for the most comfort, it's behind the front passenger seat that you want to sit in. The front seat can slide forward and also fold to allow for a lot more leg space in that back seat. In the trunk, the Genesis GV60 has 680 liters of space with the rear seats up and 1,550 liters with the rear seats folded. One thing to note, you have to walk around to the sides of each rear seat in order to fold it down. There's also a small storage space in the front. The 2023 Genesis GV60 is not a cheap car. The advanced trim starts at $71,000 Canadian, with this performance trim costing $79,000 Canadian. The only options are the paint, accessories, and protection. However, at least this top spec performance trim has every feature that can be fitted to the GV60. Soft leather upholstery, heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, heated steering wheel, panoramic moonroof, although it does not open, hands-free power liftgate, surround view cameras, rear sunshades, head-up display, wireless phone charging, and many, many more gadgets. One other feature that the Genesis GV60 has, and a whole bunch of other Genesis, Kia, and Hyundai models also have, but I haven't really mentioned it all that much in my previous videos, is the ability to move forwards and backwards in a parking spot. So for example, if there's a car to either side that's parked really close to yours, you can just hold on to the remote and using the remote start, get it to move forward with nobody in it. Just make sure you keep holding onto the button. And if it detects something in front of it, like me, it'll stop on its own, so it's not going to run you over. Cool little feature. Compared to its siblings, the 2023 Genesis GV60 looks alien. It has smooth flowing curves throughout its exterior design. The trademark dual LED headlamps and the large grille are present, but the grille is not quite as big as on some other Genesis vehicles. The large 21-inch wheels may seem massive, but they fit the wheel wells really nicely. The door handles pop out when the car is unlocked and pop back in for a clean look when the car is locked or driving. The cabin of the Genesis GV60 thoroughly feels and looks like a luxury EV. The seats are real leather on this trim, while the rest of the materials are made up of environmentally friendly options. There's also suede on the door panels with two reflective stripes that are easily visible at night when other cars' headlights shine on them. With this demo vehicle's particular white and gray color option, the cabin feels spacious and airy. However, I think that the bezels around the infotainment and instrumentation screens should have been white like in the Ioniq 5. It makes more sense with this choice of interior color, but black and blue are other interior color options on the GV60, and the black bezels do make more sense with those options. There are also a lot of little storage areas throughout the interior. There's decently sized door pockets, the glove box slides out rather than popping down, The floating center console has a huge bin between the seats. There's a little cubby next to the front occupant's feet and an even smaller one with a pop-down lid, almost like a small glove box. One of the funkiest design elements of the interior is the gear selector. When the car is off, it shows a crystal ball. Push the start button and the ball rotates to reveal P, R, N, and D. Yes, this is an electronic gadget, and should it fail, there's a little lockout next to the D which allows you to manually rotate it. So back to the original questions that I asked at the start of this video. Is the Genesis GV60 a luxurious feeling EV? And is it different enough from its siblings that it warrants the higher price that you're paying for it? So for that first question, yes, this definitely is a luxurious vehicle through and through. But for that second question, well, yes and no. So yes, it does feel different enough from the Ioniq 5 and the EV6, but this particular performance trim is overpriced in my opinion. Later in 2023, we're going to be getting the Kia EV6 GT, which has more power than this, and it costs a few $1,000s less than this. So if you want a sporty driving electric vehicle from the Hyundai Motor Company, that's the one you should be looking at. Having said that though, the advanced trim of the GV60 I think is worth it. It does feel luxurious and you're getting a lot of gadgets, so it's a good luxury product. But best of all, you have choices, which what matters most in my opinion. If you want a long range and not that expensive electric vehicle, there's the Ioniq 5. If you want a sporty driving EV, EV6. If you want a luxury vehicle, GV60 advanced trim. So the choice is yours. And if you want to know more about this 2023 Genesis GV60, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.